a quest for truth where ancient scriptures meet modern science. For centuries, the Bible has captivated humanity with its tales of miracles and divine intervention. But what if some of these seemingly supernatural events had roots in the natural world? Today, we explore 8 biblical facts that really happened, blending divine narratives with scientific explanations. Prepare to be amazed as we unravel the mysteries of the past. The Nile, lifeblood of Egypt. Imagine a people so reliant on its waters suddenly facing a terrifying spectacle, the river transformed into a sea of blood. The Bible tells of this plague, a divine judgment upon the Pharaoh. Could there be a scientific explanation for this crimson tide? Some researchers point to a natural phenomenon, a sudden bloom of freshwater algae known as Oscillatoria rubescens. These microscopic organisms, under certain conditions, can explode in population, dyeing the water a deep, unsettling red. Could this be the source of the Nile's transformation? Furthermore, drastic climate changes could have contributed to this ecological imbalance. Imagine a prolonged drought, shrinking the Nile and concentrating pollutants. This toxic cocktail could have triggered the algal bloom, turning the life-giving river into a symbol of death. The line between divine intervention and natural disaster begins to blur. The Nile, now a crimson mass, breeds another biblical plague, a relentless invasion of frogs. Picture this. Once teeming with life, the river now spews forth an army of amphibians, overwhelming the land. How could such an event occur? Again, we look to the delicate balance of nature. The same pollution that fueled the algal bloom likely choked the oxygen from the water, suffocating aquatic life. Frogs, however, are remarkably adaptable. Able to survive both in water and on land, they would have sought refuge from the dying river, driven onto the shores in a desperate bid for survival. Imagine the horror as these creatures, once confined to the riverbanks, now swarmed fields, homes, even palaces. The land, once a sanctuary, now echoed with the desperate croaking of millions. Yet this exodus carried its own doom. Forced from their natural habitat, the frogs would have faced starvation and dehydration, their once vast numbers dwindling into a mass grave. With the death of the frogs, a new horror emerges. The Bible describes it as a plague of lice, tiny insects infesting every corner of Egypt. The land, already reeling from the previous plagues, now faces an invisible enemy. The sudden disappearance of the frogs, the natural predators of insects, could have triggered this infestation. With their numbers unchecked, lice or perhaps mosquitoes would have multiplied exponentially. Imagine the relentless itching, the tiny bites covering every inch of exposed skin. In a time before modern hygiene, these insects would have spread rapidly, their presence a constant torment. This plague wasn't just an annoyance, it was a silent killer. Mosquitoes, carriers of deadly diseases like malaria, could have ravaged the population, their tiny bites delivering a fatal blow. The line between a natural infestation and divine retribution becomes increasingly blurred. Chapter 4. Swarms of flies. The air thickens with the buzzing of countless wings. The plague of flies descends upon Egypt, an unrelenting wave of filth and disease. Imagine the stench, the constant hum, the sheer mass of insects darkening the sky. The decaying carcasses of frogs, untouched and rotting in the streets, would have provided a breeding ground for flies. Attracted to the decaying matter, their numbers would have exploded, transforming the landscape into a living nightmare. But these were not merely a nuisance. Flies, carriers of bacteria and disease, would have posed a serious threat to human health. Cholera, dysentery, typhoid. These deadly illnesses could have spread like wildfire in such conditions. The Bible describes the flies as so thick they darkened the sun. While likely an exaggeration, it speaks to the sheer scale of the infestation, the feeling of being consumed by a living plague. Chapter 5. Death of the herds. A shadow falls over Egypt as the plague of pestilence strikes, decimating livestock. Imagine the despair of farmers as their once healthy animals sicken and die, their livelihoods crumbling before their eyes. Several diseases could explain this devastating plague. African cattle plague, a highly contagious viral disease, can wipe out entire herds in a matter of days. The flies, already swarming the land, could have easily transmitted this deadly virus. Another possibility is blue tongue virus, spread by biting midges, which can cause high fever, lameness and swelling in livestock. The weakened state of the animals, already suffering from the effects of the previous plagues, would have made them more susceptible to such diseases. The death of livestock was not just an economic blow, it was a direct attack on the Egyptians' way of life. Cattle, sheep and goats provided food, milk, wool and hides, essential resources for their survival. Chapter 6. A time of boils. The plagues take a personal turn as boils and ulcers erupt on the Egyptians, a painful reminder of their vulnerability. Imagine the agony, the raw, inflamed skin, the constant itching and burning, the unsanitary conditions exacerbated by the decaying carcasses and swarms of insects would have been a breeding ground for bacteria. Staphylococcus aureus, a common bacterium found on skin, can cause painful boils and skin infections, especially in unsanitary conditions. Moreover, the bites of infected insects, like mosquitoes and flies, could have transmitted diseases like anthrax or tularemia, both of which can cause skin ulcers and other severe symptoms. The psychological impact of this plague should not be underestimated. The visible sores, a constant reminder of their suffering, would have instilled fear and despair, further weakening their resolve. Chapter 7. The Deluge. The story of Noah's Ark, a tale of a world submerged beneath a great flood, resonates across cultures. Could this be more than just myth? Some scientists believe a catastrophic flood did occur in the Black Sea region thousands of years ago. Imagine a time when the Black Sea was a freshwater lake, cut off from the Mediterranean Sea by a natural dam. As glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, sea levels rose, putting immense pressure on this land bridge. The dam eventually gave way, unleashing a torrent of water into the Black Sea basin. This catastrophic flood, occurring over weeks or even months, would have submerged vast areas of land, displacing entire communities. While the scale of this event might not match the biblical account, it offers a compelling explanation for the persistence of flood myths across cultures. The trauma of such a cataclysmic event would be etched in the memory of survivors, passed down through generations. Chapter 8. Passage through the Sea. The parting of the Red Sea, a pivotal moment in the Exodus story, seems to defy the laws of nature. Yet even this seemingly miraculous event might have a scientific explanation. The wind set-down theory suggests that strong, persistent winds could have temporarily pushed back the waters of a shallow sea, exposing the seabed. This phenomenon, observed in other parts of the world, creates a temporary land bridge that could be traversed. Imagine the Israelites fleeing from the pursuing Egyptian army, reaching the shores of a shallow sea. A powerful east wind blowing for hours pushes back the waters, revealing a muddy path through the seabed. This temporary passage, while seemingly miraculous, would have been fraught with danger. The muddy seabed, treacherous underfoot, would have required a swift and determined crossing. And as the winds subsided, the waters would have returned, reclaiming their domain. While the exact location of this event remains debated, the possibility of a wind set-down offers a tantalizing glimpse into how a seemingly impossible event could have occurred. Outro: the intersection of faith and science. From the Nile turning blood red to the parting of the Red Sea, we've journeyed through some of the Bible's most awe-inspiring events. While faith may interpret them as divine intervention, science offers a different perspective. These events show how science and faith can intertwine, offering us a deeper understanding of our history. Perhaps the line between miracle and natural phenomenon is not so clearly defined. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights.